There are so many things I wish I knew about real estate investing, house hacking more specifically. To many house hackers out there, the main reason why we invest in real estate is to reach financial independence as soon as possible. Over 90% of millionaires have real estate in their portfolio. It's just a tried and true asset class to have in your portfolio. But what exactly is house hacking? House hacking, or the practice of living in and renting out a portion of your home to offset the living expenses, is just the best way to generate wealth and start your real estate investing career. And it doesn't really matter what you rent out. It could be your garage, your basement, an ADU, mother-in-law suite, it doesn't matter. However, there are some common mistakes that I made that I want you to know by the time you start house hacking. So just to let you know, I'm doing this myself. I'm a real estate investor, I'm a realtor and a licensed broker here in the Colorado area. If you're ever curious about this stuff, just reach out to me. My number and email is in the description below. Number one, the biggest issue that I see is underestimating expenses. Remember, you're not just calculating the profits and the debt service, which is your mortgage, but you're also calculating vacancy, expenses, maintenance, repairs, property taxes, insurance. It's all taken into account here. For example, my first house hack over in the North Park area in San Diego, excellent location, very walkable, very desirable. The thing is with this particular home, it was an older home, or currently is, I still own it. It had a lot of foundation issues. I knew about this stuff even when the inspection was going on while I was under contract with the home. But I figured I would delay it as much as possible just so I can save myself the money and not have to worry about it right now. And then a year and a half later, I got a call from insurance. It was not fun. So they were threatening to cancel my home insurance policy because of the foundation. I needed to fix it as soon as possible. So $20,000 later, I mean, at least I get a lifetime warranty with it. I now have a solid property and an almost empty bank account. I'm saying this to let you know that I myself had to go through it. So I'm not trying to deter you, but I do want to make sure that you're conscious of it when you're looking at roofs, the furnace, foundation, any sort of big ticket items that you might need to prepare for in the future. Also, if you're ever curious about whether you're analyzing a deal right, make sure you hop on my deal analysis course. It's a webinar completely free every third Thursday of the month. And we make sure that you're in tune with what the underwriting looks like and whether you're doing the numbers correctly. You can even bring in your own deals so that we analyze them for you. And we can check the numbers that you had on the property so that you can feel comfortable going forward after the meetup, underwriting your own deals. So still as part of number one, as far as understanding your expenses, I highly recommend that you manage your own property for your first house hack. Don't hire out a property manager initially just because you don't know what they're doing. I feel like if you manage it yourself, you can understand the nuances with the home. I'd say when you're on house hack number 3, you can start looking at property managers and you know what to look for if they're doing their job correctly. Plus, if you manage it yourself, you're saving money that way. You will definitely be glad you did. So number 2 in the things that I wish I knew before I started house hacking is choosing the wrong property. Not all properties are suitable for house hacking. Now, I want to say that the biggest bang for your buck as far as the strategy you can go with house hacking is renting by the room. A lot of first-time homebuyers come from a college environment where you're already renting by the room or living room by room in one house. So I myself lived in a 3-person dorm in order to save as much money as possible. And that was maybe within 300 square feet. It was crazy. And I wish I knew about house hacking then. With the rent by the room strategy, I think all you're looking for is a big enough house, a lot of parking spaces, and a good bedroom to bathroom ratio. For example, if you have a 2-to-1 ratio, let's say 6-bed, 3-bath, or 4-bed, 2-bath, I think that's a pretty good ratio versus, let's say, a 6-2 where you have 3 bedrooms for 1 bathroom. However, if you've already house hacked like 3 other times, I think you deserve to look for something a little bit more luxurious. Now my wife and I are looking for a place where we can have a duplex or a mother-in-law suite or a basement to rent out while we live in the main floor or the main house. So I would strongly consider the 3 biggest rules of real estate: location, location, location. If you get a property that's out in the boonies or next to a graveyard or a railway or it gets super noisy, I don't think anyone's gonna rent it from you. The safest bet is to look in a great location where you know it's gonna be desirable, which is why I love investing in San Diego and Denver, because I know people are looking to live in those places. That's just exciting to live in. Also, for those properties that are in bad locations, you're looking at less appreciation going forward in comparison with their better located house cousins. And remember, you're gonna be living there too. Your drive to work is always a strong consideration when you have to drive there, drive back, I mean, let's say if it's a 30-minute drive out there, that's a whole hour, not including traffic. Let's say you find a great location and you want to live there in the near future. The next best thing is to screen your tenants properly. Finding good tenants is crucial. If you don't screen your tenants well, you're going to have the possibility of property damage, late rent payments, or other headaches. The best piece of advice I can give you is no tenant is better than a bad tenant. Take your time with it, trust your gut, and always follow fair housing laws. If you're ever curious about that, hit me up and I'll guide you through that process. At the very least, I would highly recommend meeting them in person or just doing a Zoom call with them just so that you can get some sort of interaction with them. The three main considerations that I would be looking for in a tenant is the credit score, background check, and employment check. Another thing to consider is, does the renter have a pet? Whether it's a dog, a cat, a turtle, whatever it might be, is it going to interfere with your living situation, someone else's living situation? Does it like your dog if you have a dog? This might be a little controversial, but something that I like to establish too is I don't like to rent to family. What I like to do is establish that I'm the authority here, I'm still the landlord, and I want to make sure that that is the main focal point here, especially in my property. You can be friends with your roommates. However, I would say that just be fair and firm with all of the house rules. So for example, renting out to family, you might get the situation like, yeah, come on, you can give me a couple days. Like I'm good for my word. Come on, we grew up together. It's just going to take a little bit of time. I could pay you half rent now and then half later. Is that cool? Sometimes business and family just don't mix. So now that you find some proper tenants, I'd say the next best thing to understand, especially being a new landlord, is understanding what your new room or your house is now worth on the market. Do not overestimate your rental income. Definitely use the proper tools and software to help you out with the proper income that you could get from the property and the strategy that you're using. For example, I highly recommend you use AirDNA for your Airbnb property. Bigger Pockets and Rentometer also have some really great rentalizer tools for your long-term renter. There's no easy way to determine medium-term rental income, but I would also highly recommend you go through Furnished Finder to see what your competition is like. And if you really want to be conservative about that rental income, I would say take off 10% of it to make sure that you get a tenant in place as soon as possible, or at least get more applicants so you can filter them out and get the proper tenant. For me, I wish I knew about these tools because I feel like I got pretty lucky with my current renters. And using these tools makes it feel more business-like. And speaking of business-like, the fifth and final tip that I wish I knew before I started house hacking is getting too emotional with the property. House hacking can be a pretty personal experience, especially when you're living with other tenants. It's important to keep a level head and treat your property like it's an investment. Luckily, real estate is a very forgiving asset class, so when you hold on to it long enough, you're bound to make money off of it. To get the biggest return on your investment, people go through the nomadic house hack strategy. And it's a combination of two things: abiding by the bank's rules of having to live in that property for at least 12 months, and acquiring as many properties as possible with as little money down as possible. When you live in your home, it's easy to become comfortable, stagnant, and not treat it like a business. Maybe you start to ignore the ice machine not working in the refrigerator, or you're not properly splitting the utility bills with the other tenants, or you're like me and you forget to document everything. The two big things that I wish I documented more of was the correspondences with my tenants and also invoices with the contractors. Tax time is a nightmare without these invoices. So to force myself to treat it more like a business, what I installed was Google Voice, and I started using that number. And what's great about it is that all the correspondences send an email to me, whether it's text or email. And number two, for all the invoices, I have QuickBooks. QuickBooks Self-Employed is a really good way to have all of your accounts go through that filter so that you know where to allocate it towards, whether it's personal, business, travel, whatever it might be. What's also great about treating it like a business is that if you were to ever sell it, an investor would be very interested in it because now it's a well-oiled machine. And if you just treat it like a residential property, only residential buyers would be interested in your property. But the thing is that I would highly encourage you to think about holding on to the property for at least 5 years. And like I said, the goal is to move out to the next house hack as soon as possible. So if you were to do that and move out, now you have to backtrack and think about all the systems you did, the projects you did, and how are you able to remotely take care of the place and manage it if you're living somewhere else now and now you have two properties. Prepare yourself now so that when you move on to the next one, all you got to do is copy paste all of those management tools into that next house hack. And just to remind you, I'm a licensed broker, investor, and realtor here in the state of Colorado. I would love to just meet up with you, or if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Honestly, I'm enjoying myself here in Denver thanks to these 8 things. So if you're new to the area, I would highly suggest you watch the video. So enjoy it, and I'll see you guys next week.